Today, we are discussing pregnancy after miscarriage. Miscarriage impacts about 1 in 3 pregnancies and can be very emotional to experience and go through. Getting pregnant again after having a miscarriage can be a nerve-wracking experience, and today we are diving deep on ways to ease your mind and give tips on how to cope through the stress. Thanks for joining us. This is Preggy Pals.
Is that a plus sign?
Pink or blue? Hospital or home birth?
What type of food should I be eating?
I think I just peed myself. I'm pregnant and I have to exercise.
What pregnancy glow?
Wait, was that a contraction?
Gotta make these pants fit. I've got kinkles. What do you mean there's more than one?
You've got the symptoms, and now you've got the support you need for a happy 9 months. This is Preggy Pals, your pregnancy, your way.
Welcome to Preggy Pals. My name is Emily Mason, your host for today's episode. Before we dive in, make sure to check out our website at newmommymedia.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter to stay updated on all our latest episodes. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button in your podcast app so you never miss an episode. If you're looking for even more ways to connect, join our online community, Mighty Moms. It's a great place to continue the conversation from the show, share insights, and even find out how to join us live for future recordings. Let's get started. Our expert today is Madeline Garner, who is a New York-based writer. Her upcoming book, a picture book for adults entitled Your Baby Will Find You, is out May 6th. Her play, I, Ragazzi, co-written with her father, Broadway director David Goldsmith, was published in 2023 by the Dramatis Play Service and is now available for licensing. She is the head of creative services at Sotheby's Auction House, and she received her BA in art history and Italian studies from Wheaton College in Massachusetts. She resides in Queens with her husband, baby, and cat. Thank you for joining us. Can you tell us a little bit more about your family, where you're located, all the ins and outs?
Yes, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me, Emily. It's really great to be here and to talk about this experience I had, which was totally life-changing. And I think just anytime I can sort of make it less scary for people, I always try to do that. But yeah, so I'm in New York. I'm in Queens. I now have a 1-year-old or a 13-month-old, and she is about to start walking any day now. Fingers crossed. She loves to crawl just too much. But yeah, I mean, I think we are, our whole lives now revolve around her. And I work full time in the city at Sotheby's. So I'm full time there. I'm also writing these books on the side, which is my sort of true passion to take these experiences that are like life-changing and that they bring true grief into your life. For me, it was like the first time of experiencing sort of loss in this way. And there's kind of no loss like it's a loss that happens within you, like inside your own body. It's like very hard to conceptualize when it's happening and even afterwards. And writing the book that's coming out soon is, it was the way that I was able to process the entire experience. So that's what Your Baby Will Find You is about.
That's awesome. I'm really excited for this episode. I think bringing out some of these topics that are harder to discuss and harder to conceptualize for people. And a lot of us have experienced these things and we maybe don't know how to put those thoughts and feelings into words. So I think this is going to be a really great episode and will also give people permission to have feelings that maybe they haven't given themselves permission to have previously.
Absolutely. We have to be able to have all of the feelings.
Yes, agreed. Agreed. We grant ourselves permission for some, but we need to grant ourselves permission for all. Well, we have a ton of great questions lined up, but first we're going to take a quick break. Don't go anywhere. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Today we are diving into the tough topic of pregnancy after miscarriage. So feel free as I ask some of these questions, we can kind of chat back and forth. But one of the first ones is really about the types of losses, types of pregnancy losses. Can you kind of expand a little bit on the types of losses that people may experience?
Sure. Yes, there are definitely a lot of, the fact that pregnancy ever works is like just insane. So many tiny things need to go right in order for babies to exist, and they do so often. But then a lot of other times, some of these tiny things don't go right. So for me, my experience was that I got my IUD out. I had been married for a year. I was like, I'm super ready. This is our plan. We're doing everything like we want. Like, this is what we're doing. And we got pregnant pretty quickly. And I was like, great. That's exactly what people told me would happen. I would get pregnant really fast because I'm young and all these different things. And I felt pregnant. I was like exhausted. I was hungry, and it was all of those things. And then we go to our 8-week appointment, and it's truly like the nightmare scenario where you're like in that darkened room, and the ultrasound tech, who isn't allowed to tell you what they're seeing, but you can sort of sense that they're like not seeing what they're supposed to see. And she's sort of going around trying to find and looking here and there and like asking questions about, first day of last period and all these things. And I'm like, this is not the way I think this is meant to go. And basically they showed us where like the little sac was, or where the baby was meant to be, but essentially like the baby had stopped growing and there wasn't a heartbeat. And we were sitting in this sort of silent room watching this huge screen of nothing. And it was, like absolutely devastating. I can't even, you just don't think it's going to be you. You simply don't think it's going to be you. And I'm not an expert on every single type of pregnancy loss because I am grateful to have only experienced one kind, but this is the kind where it's just called an unviable pregnancy. And there's no rhyme or reason for why it happened. Like, medically speaking, I didn't do anything. Like nothing happened. Like it just wasn't, the cells that came together were not ever going to be a baby. But to me, for 4 weeks, they were. They were 100% a baby. Our whole lives were going to be different. We already mapped it out. We saw into the future. We knew we knew the due date. We knew all these things. We were imagining ourselves, summer of the next year with our baby. And so when you find out that actually that is not happening, you've lost not like the little cells, you've lost like a whole life that you had envisioned, for yourself. And I was just, we left that room and I was in the elevator area, just like sliding down the wall, like weeping. It was like, and you walk through the room, like this area, this part of this one hospital that we were in, and you're hearing sort of all the amplified heartbeats of all the other babies and all the other ultrasounds happening around you. And like, your room was silent. And it was like everything before that and then everything after that for me.
Right. And so to add more with the different kinds, we like chemical pregnancies, and the pregnancy that you had mentioned, the miscarriage during the first trimester, the cells, the DNA, all of the things have to come together in this perfect formation, which you put it so eloquently, like how this even happens is beyond my conception as well. And you have the second trimester miscarriage, and then a stillbirth, which is losing a baby after about 20 weeks of gestation. And I think 1 in 3 women experience pregnancy loss. And you're talking about walking out of that room and hearing the amplified heartbeats and the babies and people are celebrating, and you're walking by all of these happy people. And I've had the same walk where I walked out of the fertility clinic for the 3rd time of, this didn't work. And there's people that they're holding their ultrasound pictures and they're talking, and they're hugging, and you're putting on this, because you're so happy for them. You're so happy for everybody else, but you're also heartbroken for yourself. And how do you mask that? And that's something that I think as a society, as women, we want to be happy and cheer everybody on. But we also maybe don't take so much time to navigate our emotions and figure out how to go about going back into a society where people are going to be pregnant and
Yes.
I'm not anymore.
Yes, I gave myself a lot of leeway to simply not be happy for other people. I was like, if I don't want to be happy for other people, like right now, I don't have to be. And I don't have to say anything. I'm going to keep it to myself. But like, you have to take care of yourself in that moment, like first and foremost. And I had never navigated pregnancy before. I had never navigated fertility things before. And so there was so much to sort of like take in and process. And I had enough to deal with me. And my best friend actually did get pregnant like 2 or 3 weeks after this happened to me. And I did have to say, like, I love you and I'm so happy for you and I will celebrate with you at a later date. Because I physically can't do it right now.
Right.
And like, I think that should be okay too. Like we should normalize like not celebrating everyone at the exact time, that they, tell you or whatever. Cause it's so hard when someone else has what you want and you're just seeing the road stretch before you. Like now I have to figure out what's next. How do I help this little grouping of cells leave my body? How do I then physically heal? Then how do I emotionally heal? When can I start trying to get pregnant again? When am I going to feel emotionally ready to get pregnant again? How am I going to deal with my partner's grief? Like, how am I going to handle what he's going through? Because he lost a baby too. And then he's trying to help me. And then you have to try to come back together to make another baby. It's so complex. And each step, I think, deserves its own time and its own space. And I think that was the first time I really learned that. And it really helped me then later when I did amazingly get pregnant again with my daughter. And I needed that lesson and many of the lessons that I learned during my miscarriage, during the conception of my daughter. And then also during my pregnancy with her, it was that giving space to each step was just an invaluable lesson.
As you navigated through these things as a society, because I love the fact that you were like, I am happy for you and we're going to celebrate this at a later date, but it's me right now. I love that. And I've been put in that position a lot of times with my friends. And I don't know, because I experienced infertility for 8 years and it was time and time and time and time again. And they were all getting pregnant. And I was like, just put on a happy face. And how, what made you, or was there a resource or something that you were just like, this is what I'm going to do? Or was this just something that you decided and came up with on your own of I'm taking care of me first?
I mean, I honestly was lucky that my best friend, whom I love very dearly, she lives on the opposite side of the country. So we weren't together all the time. I didn't have to confront the situation constantly. So I was able to sort of hide away a little bit in my grief, which I needed. But honestly, no, I didn't find a lot of resources, which is exactly why the story sort of poured out of me and became this book, because there wasn't, I didn't have any kind of resource that would give me the gentle hug of knowing and of sort of quiet optimism that I was looking for. I was looking for someone to tell me it's going to be okay whether you get pregnant again or not.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be okay. And the life that you have built as it is right now is already amazing.
Right.
And don't sort of forget or give up on the life that you have in determination to make a new life that you want. It took me a while to get there. It took me a long time to get there, and a lot of iterations of the book too, because of course it started out as you end up pregnant again. But that's just not the case for everyone. And I didn't want the book to sort of be telling people sort of a dishonest story. And I wanted to help as many people as possible. But I think there should also be a book about like taking care of yourself and your own physical and emotional needs when you go through this type of loss. Despite what might be happening around you. And I think putting on a mask is a really treacherous thing to have to do. It really hurts. Like it can be like physically painful, I think, when I've had to do it in my own life. And I also know that my friends don't actually want that for me as much as they want me to be happy for them. They don't want me to be putting that mask on for their benefit. And I don't remember doing this specifically, but I can sort of imagine I maybe did this, which was like having that sort of honest conversation with my friend. And I think most people, I think, have a more difficult fertility journey than you'd ever imagine. Like, I think, you see so many beautiful families in the world and you just have no idea what they went through to create that family. And as I've told this story sort of more and more, like, I think almost every single person I've talked to, it's either like they've experienced fertility stuff or like a very close family member or friend has. And so it's just ubiquitous. And like this best friend I'm talking about, like it took her an entire calendar year to get pregnant. And they were like about to do IUI and she got pregnant naturally. So when I was telling her that this had happened to me, of course, and telling her what happened, like she had her own experience of loss and not of loss, but of just difficulty and maybe, and it is loss. I mean, every time you get your period and you're devastated, it is like a type of loss. And so she really, she understood, but she didn't. Like, I think in all of the specificity of fertility stuff, I think it's so hard to like truly understand, unless you've really gone through that exact thing, but there's so much empathy that we were able to swap back and forth because she had gone through her thing, I had gone through my thing. And then, we get the best kind of ending to our story, or like hope, not ending, but like she had a beautiful daughter. I had a beautiful daughter 6 months later. Like, how lucky are we? I mean, we got the best possible outcome, but we went through our own harrowing, tales, in order to get there.
Yeah. Parallel journeys, that eventually, crossed. And I think, that again, that's something that we need to talk more about. Like the entire journey to get pregnant is not a linear journey for every person. Right. It's a very, zigzagged and up and down roller coaster of emotions. And I think much like your friend, as I walked through my journey, I didn't tell anybody when I was pregnant. I was like, if I tell somebody, I'll jinx it. Like, because we had been doing this for 8 years of on and off, and you're pregnant and you're not pregnant and you're pregnant and you're not pregnant. And so I think it was definitely important to help bring awareness. After I did announce it, then I started saying like, well, I don't see anybody on social media talking about pregnancy or talking about infertility. And why are people talking about this? And so then I started to be like, oh, like we should talk more about this. Like, I should open up and have conversations. And now we adopted our oldest and had our youngest. She's 3. And we're starting this fertility journey again. And I'm like, wow, I started it the last time after I was like 3 months pregnant, telling people all of the things. And this time I'm like, I'm going to tell you from the very beginning, like what's happening with me. And people are like, oh my gosh, like I'm experiencing these same things and my doctor hasn't done anything about it. Maybe I can ask them for, like to run this test since you got that test ran. Like I'm talking about all of those things. So when you, I guess, were going after your miscarriage and even during your miscarriage, what did doctors, like that's been one of my like huge sticking points is getting somebody to listen to me. What was your experience like speaking with those doctors during and after your miscarriage?
Yeah. I had sort of two parallel experiences because I had people at a major hospital and then I had midwives who I
Mm-hmm.
had, hired and brought on when I was like, 4.5, 5 weeks pregnant. And I'd just taken the test and just found out. So I had sort of like, these amazing women supporting me while I had like, some weird guy, the guy who literally told me there was no heartbeat was just, he couldn't even like look me in the eye.
Mm-hmm.
He was so uncomfortable. And I'm like, you're a gynecologist. Like,
Right.
what are you talking about? What is this bedside manner? It was nonsense. And so that was like another reason why I was like up against the wall weeping, because I'm like, who is this guy?
Mm-hmm.
And I wished that I could have, it made me so sensitive to every single detail of my, especially first ultrasound the second time around. Like, I was so clear. I was like, I've been through a traumatic experience. I need it to be like this. I need to understand what the room's going to look like. I need to understand who's doing the ultrasound. Like, I needed every little bit of information because that first experience was so horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And then, my midwives were lovely, but they were sort of supporting me, even though like I wasn't going to be a client. So
Right.
it was complicated. And they helped me for a little bit, but like at a certain point, maybe a month or two later, and I was talking to them about like my hormones and trying to conceive, and should I be taking Vitex, and should I be like, what should I be doing, and why is my period so short, and all these things. And like my period took like 8 weeks to come back, so I was freaked out and like upset and impatient. And they basically like stopped talking to me. Like, it was really strange. Like, there's not really like a way to go about that. I think I think they could have done a slightly better job, but they ended up giving me over to another woman who is a doula, but she also does what do we call it? Like trying to conceive, like support.
Yep.
So she ended up being sort of our like, trying to conceive like therapist / doula. We ended up, it took us like 5 months to conceive again. And she was with us throughout. And then she became our doula, like when I was pregnant. So that ended up being wonderful, but it was definitely like rocky with medical professionals. And, my pregnancy journey with my doctor was amazing. And then, of course, giving birth in a hospital is like just, a myriad of highs and lows.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think I had midwives as well, and they were fantastic and so full of knowledge. But it seemed like the doctors that I continued to run into were, well, this is normal. And I'm like, define normal, because
Right.
normal's a curve, and I know what normal
Yep.
curves look like. And I can be anywhere from like the far right to the far left. So for me, this doesn't feel normal.
Right.
And I am a very persistent individual. I don't take no for an answer. So I just kept going to different doctors and saying, this can't be true. Like, this can't be, I know my body, and I ask lots of other people about their bodies. I work as a postpartum doula.
Amazing.
In my free time. And I ask crazy questions to people. I'm like, so tell me about your period. Like, I need to
not
know.
Crazy at all.
And people, my friend group, they'll look at me and they'll be like, did you just ask that woman over there? I'm like, yes, like she just had a baby. So now I want to know, like, or, I'll meet you and I'm starting to talk to you. And I'm like, so like, when you ovulate, and like, I'm like, what's it supposed to feel like? And so I got answers from like hundreds of people, and I kept saying, this isn't normal. Like, what I'm experiencing isn't normal. And I'm like, I ovulate. I take the test. I've spent thousands of dollars on all of these things.
Yes.
And you can't tell me why I ovulate and I can't stay pregnant. And that, like,
infuriating.
Yes. And then finding the right person that's like, hey, like, all we have to do is go remove some polyps and you're good.
Wow.
And I'm like, are you like, and in those moments, I'm like, you just have to find that right doctor,
Yeah.
right nurse, right midwife, right, the right puzzle pieces. But so often people are deterred by, well, that's normal. And then they're like,
fertility,
okay.
they're like, you haven't been trying long enough.
Yes.
Or like you haven't put like, it's enough time hasn't gone by, and time feels like you never will have enough of it. You are tight on time, no matter how old you are or how long you've been going through it, because every single element feels like it goes on for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And so this is bringing back the memory of something similar happening to me. My period came back, but it was only 2 days long. And I was like, that can't be good. That can't be good. I know that if you have a short period, this phase isn't long enough, and then like it's not right. Something must be wrong. And there's no research on women's bodies. So there's also just these medical professionals just pulling into empty bags because there's just nothing for them in there, and no one's trying to figure it out. It's just like, we're a mystery to everyone. And I went to this doctor because I became convinced that I had the syndrome where like, because I had to have a D&C after my miscarriage, because the miscarriage didn't come out on its own, which was a whole other thing. I had to go in, and they were like, we could wait another couple days to measure again. I'm like, no, I'm not waiting anymore. Like, this week that I had to wait between the first ultrasound and the second ultrasound, when I can finally like have the D&C, it was the longest week of my life. Like, let me have the D&C and move on with my life. And like, the D&C was traumatic. But after D&C, you can have scar tissue that then can like cover your cervix, and there can be like restricted blood flow. So like then you have this short period, and then you're gonna have a hard time getting pregnant. And so months in, I was like, do I have this thing? And I go to this new doctor, and he's like, I'm telling him my whole story, and I'm crying. I'm like, I've been trying, I had a miscarriage, I'm trying to conceive again, and I can't conceive. And like, I'm thinking it might be this, can we figure it out? And he literally said to me, why do you want to be pregnant so badly? And I was like, I don't understand the question. Like, also, what business is it of yours? Like, right. This is my goal. It was just crazy. Like, it was beyond. It was like so beyond. And then you're sitting there, and like, then that person gives you an ultrasound, like such an intimate thing. Right. And you're like, oh, great. Like, yeah, get out the wand. So excited for this. Like, and you're having to sort of disassociate from your body in all these moments where like your body becomes this thing, it becomes this medical experiment, and you're peeing on things, and you're testing your temperature, and you're just a science experiment, and it totally becomes like your whole life. It can become just all encompassing. And eventually, I mean, I had to, like, the end of my sort of conception story is just like, I had to put all of that away, like, for my mental health. Like, I had to stop seeing the doctors. I had to like stop testing everything. I put the LH strips away. I was like, I can't do this anymore, because I can't think about this every single morning first thing when I wake up. I have to like live my life. And then my husband and I decided to go to Miami for the weekend. And we literally like went to Miami, and like either in Miami or right after Miami is when we conceived. And it was like that thing that people say where they're like, just stop trying and it'll happen. Like, that did happen, but you have to get to the point where you're ready to stop trying, which is like, it is so hard to really, truly in your heart be like, I'm going to pause this experience. And like, you have to have gone through hell to feel like I won't survive if I keep doing it this way. And so it's not easy to get to that point where you're like, just stop trying. You're like, So yeah, man, it is really like, and it's funny. I think we also like in our minds, maybe, I mean, I don't think about this all the time. I don't think about these doctors. I've blocked them out. I've tried to, you don't want to think about them, but it's so important to remember that like that did happen to you, and it's happening to other people. And how can we talk about it in a way that does spread knowledge, and like knowledge is power, and like give the power to the people who need it in those little rooms with all their wands and things.
Oh, those were the worst rooms.
Yes.
I hated going into those rooms. Well, we're going to jump into a quick break, and then we will be right back with some more questions. All right. Welcome back. So we've been talking about doctors and talking about just kind of this journey and everybody's journey is different. Do you think women talk about miscarriage often, or do you think it's something that is not talked about? And why do you think is or is not talked about?
I think it's being talked about more, but I think I can feel it whenever I say it to someone. It puts the other person immediately on edge. And I get it because they don't know what to say to you. Like a lot of people don't know how to handle receiving that information. And I think what we have to actually normalize is various responses to this. So I think people need to feel free to say their experience however makes them comfortable. And I think we have to normalize the reactions being, I'm so sorry for your loss. Do you want to tell me about it? Or like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. Like, if you want to tell me about your experience, your baby, like anything, I'm here. I can listen. Yeah. Or like, it's sort of letting the person who went through the experience decide how much they want to share and having that openness be okay. Because I think it's this fear. I think that people don't talk about it enough because the fear is I'm going to make other people uncomfortable. And that's the thing I think we should change.
Agreed. And I think for the person receiving the information, for people that are listening to this and potentially maybe a person receiving like, hey, I had a miscarriage, it's okay to not have an answer. And I think that's what society, my friend groups, my mom was even, like when I'm talking to her, she was like, I don't know what to say when you say that. And I'm like, yes. You don't have to say anything. Like, I'm not expecting you to solve the problem. Right. I'm not expecting you to have all the answers. I just need to say it, and I need it to go somewhere in this world.
And be taken seriously.
Yeah. And just be able, you can sit there and be with somebody without saying anything and just be a comfort piece for that person.
Yes. I loved when my friends came over and just sort of sat with me. And I loved when they asked me what it was like being pregnant, because I really wanted to talk about it. Like, I had waited to be pregnant my whole life. I had waited 32 years to be pregnant. And I had been for like a brief period of time, and I really wanted to talk about it. And whenever I could talk about it and it didn't make the other person uncomfortable and they were still excited for me to have had that experience, like that was so rewarding and bonding and like just deep and meaningful. And so I'm always sort of searching for that whenever I sort of tell people. But now I'm sort of like, yes, well, I have a baby and I had a miscarriage first. And, and I sort of just, I also think saying it and having it be normal, as in like, you can just say it and it's like, I had a miscarriage and I'm going to still move on with what I was saying. And we don't have to linger, and you can just be like, I'm so sorry. And that's okay. And then we move on. Like, that's okay too, Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like women are talking about their experiences more. And we have this conversation, in my friend groups and in the circles that I run in. And especially I learn from the generation before me. I ask questions, and that generation was like, Emily, we didn't have pregnancy tests that told you, and I think information is so much more applicable or achievable at this point in time in our society that we are finding out things sooner. And that's not a bad thing. I love finding out information as soon as possible. If I could find out.
It's just different.
Yes.
It's just different than how it used to be. Like we just know, we know so much more about our bodies, our cycles. Like my mom told me that she didn't even really still know what ovulation was.
Right. I'm like, how did you guys have so many babies?
Yeah.
Like, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Literally. And I'm telling her like exactly what happens day 1, day 2, day 3. Like, this is how it works. She's looking at me blank stare, like absolutely no information. And it's just like, it's a miracle we are all alive at all, truly.
And like my mom, she's like, well, I'd have a cycle 1 month And then I wouldn't have one for a couple. I'm like, what do you mean you didn't? Did you not panic? Like, and she's like, well, no, that was just the norm. And she goes, and then I never tracked. I never knew when, like, it was a surprise every time I got my period. I'm like, it is a science when I'm getting,
yeah.
And I don't know. I was like that. So I think that also like gleans to like, we're talking about it more, but do you think there's room to continue bringing awareness to it?
Absolutely. I just think I know like our number for like our statistic for how many people have miscarriages, like it keeps going up, but I still think it's incorrect. Like I'm sure it's higher because there's just so much non-reporting. There's so much still that, you know, people don't even know or don't want to say or don't want to talk about it. And so I just think like, yes, I think there's always room to talk about it more. Again, because like maybe there will be research done on pregnancy and like why sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, and like why it's happening one way or another. Like if we don't talk about it, that research will never reach the surface. Like it'll never reach the right people with the right funds.
Exactly. Yes. So you talked about your book a little bit, but I want to give you the space to kind of tell us more about. I think we know a little bit about why you wrote your book, but then the intention behind how you think it's going to help women and how, like, what your goals are for how it's going to help women and families in society, and what feedback have you gotten from your book thus far?
Yes. I mean, to be honest, the feedback's been like incredible, which is so, I mean, it's just so amazing because you go through this experience, you make something that you hope will help people. And then whenever someone says like, it already is, like, it's not even out yet. And the people I've shared it with have read it and come back and just been like, this is already helping. And it's for people who haven't even, some people have experienced pregnancy loss. Some people are dealing with loss of a different kind, because the book holistically is about how you can become friends with your own grief, how you can make space for grief in your life. It's not something that goes away, and that's okay. It's something that lives alongside the joy and the everything, the anxiety. It lives alongside all of your emotions forever, and that's beautiful. It's with you always. It doesn't you don't have the pang of grief every day for the rest of your life, but the grief, you know, sort of becomes integrated into your daily life. But the book itself, I mean, I'm a former preschool teacher, and I just sort of a lifelong lover of children's literature. So, you know, The Giving Tree and Little Blue and Little Yellow and The Missing Piece, and these books like have grown with me over my life. And so those are the types of books I go to when I, even as an adult, need something. Like I'm looking for support, understanding, empathy. I go to those books. I think they're so deep. They resound throughout your life, from the time you're born through the time you are very old. Like it touches you in a different way at each stage of your life. And that's the book I wanted. I wanted a book that was like a children's book, but talking about a difficult adult topic, but with visuals that kind of allowed you to lose yourself a little bit in the story. Like the visuals are not representative of human forms. There's a loop, a black line that's a loop, and then there's a little small loop, and the big loop is the mom and the little loop is the baby. And it becomes a sort of visual language where the line of the loop ends up becoming a timeline, or it becomes the future. A little dotted line becomes the future. Color takes on like a very specific meaning. It's very measured and slow and gentle and specific, and illustrated by my incredible friend Georgia Lupi, who's a data visualization designer. And she takes data, large data sets, any kind of data, and makes them beautiful and glanceable and understandable. And so she basically created a visual language for my book, where you sort of, then you without having to be told what's happening, like you realize, oh, that's like the partner. Oh, that's what this means. Oh, that's what this means. Oh, yellow means pregnancy. like the yellow means hope. Like it starts to make sense as you read it. And it's sort of, it allows for this sort of other layer of understanding and of storytelling throughout the book. And it's a very, the language is also sort of children's book like it's sort of how you would describe like a heart attack to a child is sort of like you'd say this person's heart stopped working and it needs to beat in order for the person to live, and it stopped beating and so the person isn't living anymore. Like a very direct way that's like very understandable. And so it's like if you don't know what a heart attack is, it's like it doesn't matter. This is how it works. And that's the kind of language that helped me process my own experience. And I think it's like, we talk to kids that way because it helps them understand. And sometimes like we're still kids and we need to be talked to that way. And so that was the book that I needed. I needed this gentle hug of this like beautiful visual language, these simple poetic words, and I needed hope at the end. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of what it became. And I just feel so lucky that it's going to be fully out in the world. And, I'll tell people about it and they're like, oh, this just happened to my sister. Like I can't wait to get it. And it's sort of like, I'm so excited for it to come out. And it's also kind of sad. I'm like, I'm so sorry that happened to you, but I am really excited for them to potentially be able to be helped by this book. And that's sort of actually exactly what the book is about, which is this like dual nature of our lives, of just like the happiness and the sadness are always being hand in hand. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think I'm so grateful for everyone who's given me feedback throughout the process and for everyone who's read it so far. And I'm just so, so excited for it to just be a book in the world. It's amazing.
Well, I'm excited to get my hands on it as well. This conversation has been fantastic and we're not done yet. We're going to take a quick break. Stay with us. There's more questions to explore when we get back. Welcome back to Preggy Pals. So as we kind of wrap up, thinking about how we can support women, we touched on it, but I think it's important to bring this back up again of what words of encouragement or actions can people do or help showcase for women navigating through these tough experiences? What can society, what can the people that are listening, what can they do when they hear these experiences? What would you want somebody to do for you?
I would want them to approach without fear. You're allowed to get it wrong. You don't go in jail if you get it wrong. Right. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to ask what I want, what I need. It's okay to be uncertain. And I think if that's the space that you're entering into, then more and more people will speak out and will talk about what they've been through. And I think if we can all walk around the world remembering that every single person and every single family has walked through fire, mm-hmm. To build their beautiful families, then I think it will make all of us better at being friends and being loved ones and being supports for each other.
Absolutely. And I love the fact that you said you will not go to jail if you get it wrong. We live in such a cancel society.
Yes.
That I think we have to make that like you're talking to people and you are not always going to say the right thing. And words don't always have to be calculated. They can be I've never
you can try your best. You can just try your best. And like trying your best is sometimes absolutely good enough.
Absolutely. You don't have to have walked the same walk to be an emotional support for somebody else. And yes. I think that's important for people to know moving forward.
Yes. Yes. I couldn't agree more. The more we can be ourselves, the more we can be mm-hmm. unmasked, the closer we'll all sort of get to each other. And like, that's the best outcome I think we could have.
Absolutely. So I think the burning question for most of our listeners so far are where can they find you and where can they order your book?
Yes. So you can find me at Maddie Dara Garner on Instagram and on my website, MaddieDaraGarner.com. And you can get the book on Amazon and on Books, Barnes & Noble and at the Simon & Schuster website. You can get it basically everywhere. You can pre-order it now. Your baby will find you. And it's there. It's already there. And then on May 6th, it will ship out to you.
It is there because I have it in my shopping cart right now. Yeah. So make sure you go and put it in your shopping cart, and we'll make sure to link all of those social media handles and where you can find the book in our show notes. Man, I really appreciated you coming on the show today. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing your story, your wisdom, and thank you for writing a book that brings this journey to the pages for somebody that maybe didn't have permission in their mind to be able to express some of those emotions and feelings.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me, Emily. This is amazing. It was amazing to talk to you about my experience, your experience, and thanks for letting me talk about the book.
Absolutely. And thank you to all of our listeners. Be sure to check out newmommymedia.com. That's where all of our podcast episodes are housed, plus videos and more. That wraps up our show for today. So thank you so much for listening. If you love Preggy Pals as much as we do, we'd love for you to check out our amazing businesses that sponsor our show every week. And don't forget to share this free resource with another new mama who might enjoy it. If you're looking for more great content, be sure to check out our other podcasts like Newbies, Parent Savers, The Boob Group, and Twin Talks by visiting our website at newmommymedia.com. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at newmommymedia for updates, giveaways, and much more. Thanks for joining us on Preggy Pals, your pregnancy, your way.
This has been a New Mommy Media production. The information and material contained in this episode are presented for educational purposes only. Statements and opinions expressed in this episode are not necessarily those of New Mommy Media and should not be considered facts. While such information and materials are believed to be accurate, it is not intended to replace or substitute for professional medical advice or care, and should not be used for diagnosing or treating healthcare problem or disease or prescribing any medication. If you have questions or concerns regarding your physical or mental health or the health of your baby, please seek assistance from a qualified healthcare provider.
Hey mamas, don't forget to check out Mighty Moms. It's our online community built for new moms just like you. Not only can you connect with other moms, but you can also join us backstage for special mom-only online events. And you'll also be notified when we're recording so you can join us as a special guest. Visit our website, newmommymedia.com, and click on the Mighty Moms banner. It's free. That's newmommymedia.com. See you there.